the new iPhone SE 2022 and this is the iPhone 11. The goal of this video is to help you decide on which of these two devices to buy in 2022. So let's get started. Let's first start with the iPhone 11. Now you can get an iPhone 11 with 64 gigs internal storage for about $350 or $400 depending on where you buy it, which is somehow cheap. Whilst on the other side, the new iPhone SE 2022 sells at $429. And looking at these prices, some of you might be having different thoughts. So let's talk about the design. Once you set your eyes on these two devices, you instantly spot a difference between them. So on the iPhone SE 2022, you are getting the same old famous design from the iPhone 8 with the glass back, home button and one single camera at the back. On the iPhone 11 has a glass back as well, which really looks nice, and you can use it without a case if you want to, but to save money from replacing it, then you better find a case. To me, the design on these devices looks good. Now if you look at the display on these two devices, they don't look similar. On the iPhone 11 has a 6.1-inch IPS LCD display, which Apple calls the Liquid Retina display, 1792 by 828 resolution at 326 pixel per inch, and True Tone. Whilst on the SE 2022 has a 4.7-inch IPS Retina LCD screen, standard 60Hz refresh rate with a resolution above 720p. In terms of brightness and for outdoor usage, both devices have the same peak brightness at 625 nits. I guess the only difference here is the iPhone 11 has a slightly bigger screen and resolution. So moving on to the processor, both phones have 4GB RAM, and on the iPhone SE 2022 uses Apple's A15 Bionic processor, which can also be found in the iPhone 13 series with good performance. The iPhone 11, however, uses the A13 Bionic processor with good performance as well, and can handle any high performance tasks you throw at it. I guess the real performance of these two devices can be determined well whilst playing some highly intensive graphics games or doing video exporting on these devices. There's a high chance you get a better performance on the iPhone SE 2022 because of the updated processor. So if you are someone who uses your device for normal day-to-day tasks, you'll be fine with any of these two devices, unless you want a bigger battery or that additional ultra-wide camera. Although the iPhone SE 2022 will also be getting many updates than the iPhone 11. So now the cameras. This is where things get a little different. On the iPhone 11 you get 3 cameras, a 12 megapixel wide main camera, another 12 megapixel ultra wide camera at the back, and a 12 megapixel front selfie camera with a 3D sensor for face unlocking. Both cameras on the front and back of this device can record videos up to 4K at 30 and 60 frames per second, whilst on the SE 2022 has 2 cameras, a 12 megapixel wide camera at the rear and a 7 megapixel front selfie camera. The back camera can record videos up to 4K at 60 frames, and the front can also record videos up to 1080p at 60 frames per second. I can say images I've seen from the iPhone 11 are good so far, and in general both devices will produce good and decent images for you. So at this point, if you are wondering, the iPhone SE 2022 has night mode. I'm sorry to say there's no night mode on this device. Next, the battery. The iPhone 11 comes with a 3110 mAh battery inside, with 18-watt fast charging support, including wireless charging as well. Whilst on the SE 2022 this time has a slightly bigger battery than the previous iPhone SE. It also supports fast charging and wireless charging as well. I just can't say the battery on the iPhone SE is definitely going to be bad, but for me it may be good, and for you it may not be good, or it may be good for you. And I guess it will all depend on your usage and how long you use the device for. So if you are a heavy user and you really care about battery life, then you might go in for the iPhone 11 instead. So now the question here is, which of these devices should I buy? So you need a phone with that ultra wide camera, or maybe you see yourself as a heavy battery user always doing something on the go, or you want a new modern design and a device slightly less cheap on some markets with a big display, then I recommend you buy the iPhone 11. However, if you know you are not a heavy user and you don't need that extra camera, or you just love the old iPhone 8 design with new specs, or you just want a device that feels more compact, or you are planning to use this device for many years, since the iPhone SE will be having a long period of software updates than the iPhone 11, then you can go in for the iPhone SE 2022. What do you think? Leave me a comment. Anyways, please like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe, share. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.